Okay, now we're going to learn about buffalo hunting. This is really important to both First Nations and the Métis during the time where the numbered treaties were signed during the Red River Rebellion, and it's a part that isn't really covered as well as it should be in the curriculum and in the textbook. So, the buffalo hunt was the main industry, the main business of the Métis. They'd been go-betweens between the First Nations and Hudson's Bay Company, but as the fur trade was winding down in the 19th century, they switched to making pemmican. Now, pemmican is an amazing food. It's mixed berries with dried buffalo meat, dried over a fire, and it lasts for a long time. It is very nutritious, really tasty, and provides both protein and vitamins, and is kind of the perfect trail food, travel food. And so the Métis provided the Hudson's Bay Company employees and everyone else in the West with this perfect exploring food, traveling food, and this was one of the main businesses of the Métis in the Red River settlement. Now, the buffalo dying out had very little to do with the Métis and First Nations hunting buffalo. The amount of buffalo that they were killing in their hunts was most likely sustainable. And this wasn't really the fault of Canada writ large either. In the United States, as they built transcontinental railroads, however, buffalo were seen as a menace. The trains would have a difficult time, of course, going through herds of buffalo. The cow catcher at the front of trains in this time period, specifically to avoid having a train run over buffalo and get derailed. But also, you had in the building of the transcontinental railways in the United States mass slaughter of buffaloes to clear the way. And this happened before the Canadian Railroad was built because the U.S. railroads came first as far as that goes. The other part of it is that buffalo hides as a source of leather was a huge market in the United States at the time. And so you had a phenomenon where both to clear room for the rails and to provide leather, you had tens of thousands of buffalo being killed. And here, this photo, there's 40,000 buffalo hides. And this was not a sustainable rate. And they weren't taking the meat. I mean, harvesting the meat, making it into pemmican, that's very labor intensive, whereas just skinning the hides and shipping them east was much easier. So to get a scope of the slaughter, this picture is very informative. And there were many sites like this in the West in the United States, just enormous piles of the skulls of the buffalo. And the skull would be the hardest to break down. And so that's why we have just the skulls here. And you can see, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of skulls. And this was, one of many sites for the disposal of these. So we can see how rapid the decimation of the buffalo, more properly known, it's more scientifically more properly bison. So the original range going far to the east of the United States and well south, of course, the area that we are focused on for Canada, we can see Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta. And by 1889, so just in 20 years, you have the buffalo being almost completely wiped out. And this time period, 1870 to 1889, is exactly when the numbered treaties were being signed. So you have the main food source of both the Métis and First Nations people disappearing in one generation, right? 20 years, that's one person's adult life. So you have all the First Nations people and Métis people in Canada